part whatever it is, 7 I think, Nutnfancy, covering my backpacking gear for a multi-day trip. Wah, wah, wah. Talking about GPSs. Left off talking about the GPS Map 60CX. I forgot to say the full name. It's GPS Map 60CX. Technology always is changing. There's probably lighter weight and better GPSs out there. But the GPS 60CX and the 60 series altogether is much more affordable now in 2008. And it's a lot better than the one you see in the background, and that's the Etrex Vista and Legend, which are really affordable now. I'm not going to turn this on. I used the Legend for years. The Vista, I think, is the same unit, but it has a built-in barometer and electronic compass, which is pretty much worthless. I never use electronic compass. It takes calibration. You have to rotate it around. It burns more battery power. Never use it. Been using GPSs since year 2000. However, this has a patch antenna. That's one big disadvantage of the Etrex Vista and Legend series, and if you go into heavy brush, expect for it to break lock frequently. Also, the processor which draws the maps in the Vista and Legend is very slow. This isn't my unit. This is on loan for a possible review. However, this 60CX is my unit, and it draws maps pretty darn quick. I call that rendering. It renders quickly. Also, it has a double helix antenna which locks on pretty darn good in heavy brush. And that's really important, especially if you're logging the mileage of your trip. Another advantage to having a GPS with you, that you can get back from your trip and say, dude, I just did a 40-mile backpacking trip. Oh yeah? How do you know? It's in the GPS. All right. And that's what I'm telling you. The reason I know how far I pack is exactly because I have a GPS 60CX with me right on my shoulder. And speaking of which, this is how I attach it. This is an old Outdoor Products. I don't even think they make this attachment device anymore, but man, it was perfect. And again, it has a fold-over attachment thing that goes right on your shoulder harness. So on one side, I have my camera, like I said before, maybe in that carry case. On the other side, I have my GPS referenced. And the GPS, once it's loaded with the map data, man, it's nice to have because you can easily find your way around to lakes and stuff, trails. I think right now I have topo loaded, and as you can see, here I am in the state of Oregon, and I'm zooming in. You can see that it shows a lot of roads and trails and all kinds of different information. Sorry if I was off on there. Let me get it to 0.8. There we go. Once you get it down to 800 feet, then you see a lot of details. You can see the topography, the different trails, the steepness of the terrain, the elevation. All this is very handy to have when you're in the backcountry. And if you take extra batteries with you, lithium variety, I generally find they last quite a long time, even in cold weather, although it is diminished in cold weather. GPS 60CX, I just will not backpack or day hike without it, generally speaking. Do I absolutely need it? No, I don't. I can actually use a compass quite effectively with a map if I have to. However, if given a choice, it's good weight. And again, firepower and capability, this gives me a lot more capabilities. Also, if you get an emergency and you are someone in your party has a sat phone, or if you get in a place you have cell phone coverage, it's a lot easier telling them exactly where you are, referencing latitude, longitude. Okay, where are you guys located? Well, I'm at 43 north, 41.087 north, 121.01.794 west. Okay, we'll send a helicopter immediately. See what I'm saying? Capabilities. As opposed to, oh yeah, I'm around China Peak, I think I'm over. Okay, sir, we need to know exactly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that happens all the time. Search party, if you use latitude, longitude, they know right where to go. This leads us into sleeping gear. Man, a series of videos could be made about sleeping bags and stuff. May do it in the future. But let me tell you what works. Again, my temperature range being 30 degrees to 70 degrees in this arbitrary scenario I'm giving you guys. If I know that it's not going to be a really wet camp out, then yes, a down sleeping bag like this Mountain Hardwear 20-degree rated bag, forget the name. I might put it in the description if you're super interested. Let me know. but this is a great option. And what is good about down is that it's very compactable and very lightweight. That's a huge advantage of down. And it's really warm. Its weight to warmth ratio is sky high. In other words, it provides a lot of warmth for the weight we're carrying in, and it's very compactable. The downside to a down bag like this Mountain Hardwear is if it gets wet, it's going to stay wet pretty much your whole trip unless it's hot and sunny, and it will not give you any kind of warmth. I'm not going to go into the features of the bags. That's too much detail. However, it is nice to use a down bag. If I know I'm going into colder conditions and maybe wetter conditions, I'm going to take a synthetic bag with me, maybe along the lines of this Northface Tundra. This is a -20 rated bag, and this would be a good winter bag option. But it's heavier and it is bulkier. You can see the tag right there, Tundra -20. Don't know if they still make it, but if they don't, they'll be making one like it. And there's lots of great bags out there. Don't get hung up on the brand. Moonstone are excellent. REI makes some excellent brand bags. Slumberjack. Cabela's has some really nice bags. Mountain Hardwear. There's a lot of them out there. I would concentrate more on the type of insulation. And again, this is a subject for a whole series of videos. But this is a good winter bag, and it would be a really good option if I'm trying to save someone who's hyperthermic and drenched to the bone. I can put them in this bag and warm them up, because this, I believe this is Thermalite, Polar Guard 3D is what this insulation is. And it should maintain its loft even when wet, and therefore it will have some sort of heating capability, unlike a down bag. Okay? So, by the way, why am I covering all this stuff? You guys would say, why is he covering all this? Well, yeah, a lot of you guys have asked me about it and want to know in great detail all my gear selections. I'm cool with that. But also, I'm going to do backpack reviews. And in order for me to competently and accurately review backpacks, we need to show what type of gear you'd be carrying in your backpack. Because when I tell you in my gear review of backpacks that a 5,000 cubic inch backpack is very suitable for what I do, if I hadn't have done this review that I'm showing you, a lot of you guys would be going, what are you talking about? That's way too big. Well, as you can see, for the capabilities that I want to have in the backcountry, it's not too big. Especially if you're talking wintertime. I mean, wintertime, then I have to take bulky gear like this. You know, Primaloft snowsuit. I've got those snow boots right there. Maybe even extra liners for snow boots. I've got more, thermal wear that I'll have to take. Extra socks, more food. You burn a lot of calories when it's wintertime. That's another reason why I'm setting all this out and going over it with you guys, because it shows you what kind of backpack you're going to have to need, or you're going to need to carry it all. That takes us, again, back to sleeping bags. Talk briefly about that. How about tent? And you will see a series of videos on tents and what to look for. I have a lot of opinions on it, and that's actually what made me a gear reviewer for LL Bean. As I contacted LL Bean, Mountain Hardwear, Cabela's, all kinds of companies, and I started conversing with them. And that's how LL Bean brought me on to their company as a gear reviewer. And as I served there for a number of years, I finally went on hiatus just because I got burned out, because it takes me a lot of work to do a gear review, whether it's a piece of clothing, a pair of boots, sleeping bag. I put a lot of work into it to make it give them a really good product. You probably can detect that, can't you? This is a Northface Boulder 33, sadly no longer being made. What an excellent tent this is. A little bit on the heavy side, probably about 8.5 pounds, but man, does it have a lot of square footage. And this would be a tent I would take if I'm taking along a friend or two with me in the backcountry, and we'd split up the poles and the canopy to carry. And that's generally how I'll carry it, right on top of my backpack. Enough said about tents, but there's a lot of detail that we need to talk about later. And along with that tent, I'll make a footprint out of a tarp that I bought, I don't know, Walmart, wherever, just a relatively cheap, heavy-duty tarp, and it's cut out according to the footprint of the tent. You don't have to go out and waste money on a nylon footprint if you don't want to. And this is actually lighter. And what that'll do is save the bottom of your tent from getting punctured. And for long-term durability, I find that it's useful. Now, some guys will say, and I know there's different philosophies, hey, I never use a ground sheet under my tent. They're designed to be thrashed on. That's fine. Different strokes for different folks, I guess. By the way, I will admit right now, when I go out in the backcountry, I like to be comfortable. I don't like to be cold. I don't like to be miserable. I don't like to suffer. I don't like to rough it if I don't have to. That's because I've done plenty of that in my life, both in survival school, survival scenarios. I don't dig it. And so, since I don't like being uncomfortable, I take the gear along, accepting the extra weight and bulk that will make me comfortable. And that gets me to my sleeping pad arrangement. What do you use for your sleeping pad, Nutnfancy? Well, I know a lot of hardcore campers would be happy with just this. This is just a simple military, half-inch thick, more or less, closed cell foam pad. And as you can tell, this one goes back a ways with me to the 80s. And it's lost some of its spring, but this is my base layer pad. I'll bring this, and how much does it weigh? It's not super light, maybe about 8-10 ounces. I know, it's extra weight. And then along with that, I'll bring a Thermarest inflatable, long variety, since I'm tall. And I don't like the tapered ones that taper to a triangle. I don't like the narrow ones that I roll off in the middle of the night and end up on the cold ground. Don't like it. So I'll put this one on the bottom, especially in wintertime conditions when it's 0 degrees out. It insulates me from the ground. Then I'll put my Thermarest on top of that. This, by the way, is a carry case for the Thermarest. It actually holds, I think that's what it is. Yeah, it holds a pillow too. I'm not going to unroll it and show it to you. If you guys are interested, maybe later. But just a Thermarest on top of that, that's a nice system. It's comfortable. And you're going to laugh, even sometimes, if I know I'm planning to bivouac in an area for a very long time, I'll take egg crate foam with me. And that's what this is. This is just egg crate foam folded over. I know, it's ridiculous. But man, if you were to go in my tent with this, you're going to understand why it's so super awesome. And sorry for the blur, but that's the egg crate foam just folded in on itself, and that would go on the bottom of my tent. On top of that, I throw that, then my Thermarest, and that is the bomb. You're talking extreme comfort, and for a 7-day, 5-day backpack trip, it's worth the wait. How much does that weigh? It's really not that heavy. It's more bulky than heavy. I don't know. It'd be hard to say. Maybe about 1.5 pounds, I'm guessing, though. I don't always take that, just sometimes. Generally, I will take both of these, though. And along with that, maybe a pillow. Here's one style of pillow that could be taken. This is another style of camp pillow. And no, I don't always take pillows with me. Sometimes I'll just use a stuffed sack of the sleeping bag, put my fleece jacket or my, Primaloft jacket in there and do that. But if given a choice, I sure like to have a purpose-built pillow up there. It's nice. It's luxurious. Don't laugh until you tried it. It rocks. This, by the way, is a Slumberjack pillow. It's I got this one at Sportsman's Warehouse. 20 inches by 20 inches. A little bit heavy. I may not take one that big. I haven't used this particular one. I just kind of threw it there for the heck of it. This is actually lighter, and this is just a regular camp pillow with a fleece cover on it. I bought it at Campmore years ago. And yeah, if I'm spending a week in the backcountry, it's nice to use. By the way, sometimes in some of my videos, maybe the less educated types will laugh when they see me wearing knee pads, and they go, "Aha, you wear knee pads, you're an idiot." Great way to reveal your ignorance, really, because if you knew anything about survival and went through a survival school, pretty much the ones I know and the ones I went through said never ever kneel in the dirt with your clothing. As soon as you get your pants dirty and you get dirt in the fibers of your clothing, survival instructors will teach you, the fabric actually starts to rip itself apart because that dirt is very abrasive, and you can actually lose your entire pants and get holes in them once they get dirty. And in a survival situation where you really don't have an option of washing your clothing effectively, that's a big issue. So I guess I'm a product of my training, and that is staying out of dirty places. And also my knee issues as well. Kneeling on hard places with my knee that's jacked up, not so great. So yeah, knee pads are very effective. and I will continue and have used them for years, and they're good weight in my opinion. You're always going to be kneeling, especially during fire making exercises. Heck, look at all my wilderness videos. You can see how often I'm kneeling in the dirt while I'm constructing the trap, building fires, doing all the wilderness tasks. It just is smart to bring knee pads along, and it'll save your knees. Look at the troops in Afghanistan and Iraq too. I mean, pretty much they all wear knee pads. Why? It saves your clothing and it saves your knees. Along with that, survival instructors, and I have a world of respect with survival instructors, they'll tell you never to sit in the dirt, never sit on cold areas either, because you'll lose by conductivity your body heat, and that gets to sitting pads. Do I always take these with me? Nope, but I'll take something like it with me. This is a closed cell pad from REI. It's very simple, very inexpensive, soft. You can double it over, sit on it, and it makes a really good sitting pad. I'm out of time. Next part coming up. Thanks for tuning in. Nutnfancy.